So the old legacy WNBA media did not think this was possible. They did not think this.
The Indiana Fever continued to make massive moves in free agency, signing Sophie Cunningham and DeWanna Bonner. And you guys, I don't even think they're done.
Not everyone in the WNBA is riding high these days. Some players have just struck it rich by joining a team with Caitlin Clark, leaving the rest of the league watching with envy.
So Caitlin Clark is now a member of the new Indiana Fever. Remember what they got the big five. They have five. The top 24 scorers in the WNBA last.
The Fever have crafted something extraordinary around Clark, blending seasoned veterans with up-and-coming stars who thrive alongside one of the best passers the sport has ever seen. While some doubted Indiana's ability to lure top talent, those skeptics were proven wrong. So why are players gravitating towards Indiana while others are left pondering missed opportunities? Let's dive into the details. This shift is a game changer for the WNBA.
So firstly, you guys, Sophie Cunningham was traded to the Indiana Fever for Nalissa Smith and a pick. The Indiana Fever also acquired forward Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I am not familiar with her game. She is going to be only a second-year WNBA player, so we will have to see how her game translates to the Indiana Fever. But Sophie Cunningham was such a huge...
Caitlin Clark hasn't even played a single WNBA game yet, but she's already reshaping the league's landscape. When the Indiana Fever clinched the draft lottery, it wasn't just about snagging a future superstar, it was about transforming the franchise's entire identity. For years, Indiana was seen as a perennial underdog, struggling to define itself and attract marquee talent. Now, everything has changed, and the rest of the league is feeling the shift. The prevailing narrative was that Indiana couldn't possibly lure key free agents. Critics genuinely believed that seasoned veterans and emerging stars wouldn't be keen on joining forces with Caitlin Clark. They assumed she would falter without a solid supporting cast, citing Indiana's market, its history of losing seasons, and the so-called controversies surrounding Clark as deterrents. But here's the truth. Players are driven by the desire to win. In the competitive world of the WNBA, you recognize opportunity when it knocks. Caitlin Clark isn't just a talented player, she's a generational force who makes life easier for her teammates. She's the kind of athlete who gets everyone involved, elevates good players to greatness, and brings out the best in those around her. That's precisely why Natasha Howard decided to make the move to Indiana.
The news just dropped. DeWanna Bonner has been signed to the Indiana Fever. I'm about to knock my light over, bro.
That's why DeWanna Bonner was linked to the Fever, and why Sophie Cunningham ended up donning their jersey. Now, let's take a closer look at Natasha Howard. She's far from an ordinary free agent acquisition. She's a WNBA champion, a former Defensive Player of the Year, and a proven winner. With plenty of choices on the table, she opted for Indiana. And why wouldn't she? Playing alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is a dream come true. Clark spreads the floor, dishes out open looks, and consistently pushes the pace, while Boston commands attention in the paint as an interior powerhouse. In that dynamic, Howard flourishes. In Indiana, she'll enjoy easier scoring opportunities, more open shots, and the chance to contribute to something truly remarkable. When Howard inked her deal, the reactions were all over the map. Some in the WNBA media, especially those who rarely delve deep into the nuances of the game, acted as if her decision was nothing short of shocking. They clung to the outdated notion of the Fever as the same old underachieving team from a couple of years back. But the truth is, Indiana is no longer that franchise. They've set a clear vision, a star playmaker at the helm, a dominant post presence, and a coaching staff that knows how to build around such talent. It's this vision that's drawing players to Indiana and rendering the old idea that no one would sign there utterly ridiculous. Then there's Sophie Cunningham. The instant she was traded to Indiana, attention turned her way. Cunningham isn't merely a shooter. She's a gritty, high IQ competitor who excels in a system that values ball movement and purposeful play. She doesn't need to hog the ball to make an impact. Instead, she excels in off-ball movement, finding open spaces and delivering those critical extra passes, all essential skills when playing beside Caitlin Clark. And let's not overlook her defensive prowess and tenacious attitude. Cunningham's edge, her disruptive play, and her refusal to back down were exactly what Indiana needed. After all, you don't just want talent, you want mental toughness, battle-tested grit, and a willingness to fight every night. That's what sets this new Fever squad apart. It isn't just a collection of skilled players, it's a perfect fit. Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Howard together form a lineup with clear identity, one that's poised to compete and catch the league's attention. The rest of the WNBA is taking notice. Teams that once dismissed Indiana are now quietly seething with envy as free agents actively choose Indiana. Those who doubted the impact of Caitlin Clark are starting to see that they miscalculated completely. Clark isn't simply bringing excitement to the court, she's fast-tracking Indiana's transformation into a legitimate contender. Players who once passed on Indiana are now left wondering if they made the wrong choice, because being in Indiana now looks like one of the best opportunities in the league. As the season approaches, the buzz is only intensifying. The WNBA is awakening to a new reality. The Indiana Fever aren't just rebuilding, they're ascending rapidly. And many around the league are starting to feel that intense envy, realizing that the very players who once scoffed at the idea of Indiana might now be regretting their decisions. The Fever have quietly assembled one of the most balanced, well-structured rosters in the league, and it's impossible for other teams not to take notice. For years, Indiana was a team you hardly feared, a mere stepping stone on the schedule, but those days are over. The way they've constructed their roster, the chemistry that's already forming, and the strategic additions they've made are forcing both players and executives across the league to sit up and take notice. Some in the media tried to paint Indiana as an undesirable destination, fixating on external factors and ignoring basic basketball logic. What they missed was simple. Players want to win, and they seek out systems that enhance their abilities. That's exactly what Indiana has created. With Caitlin Clark leading the way, Indiana's style is modern, fast-paced, and unselfish. A system designed to make life easier for every scorer, shooter, and post player. Take Natasha Howard's move, for instance. Critics speculated that her decision was driven by factors off the court, but in reality, Howard made it clear. She craves recognition, victory, and a place where she can truly thrive. Indiana delivered on all fronts. The old media narratives couldn't fathom why someone like Howard would choose Indiana, yet any true student of the game understood immediately. Playing alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is an ideal situation for a versatile forward like her. She isn't saddled with carrying the offense or forcing plays. Instead, she gets better looks and greater opportunities than she has in years. And consider DeWanna Bonner, who was heavily linked to the Fever. Initially, skeptics questioned why she'd ever opt for Indiana. But why wouldn't she? Indiana offers a team-first, up-tempo style where veteran scorers can extend their careers while remaining highly productive. With Indiana's system, Bonner wouldn't be overburdened with minutes. She'd be surrounded by youthful energy and allowed to focus on what she does best: scoring and leadership. Instead, Bonner remained in Connecticut, a team that, while still competitive, might lack the vibrant, exciting environment Indiana is building. Because here's the bottom line: Indiana is on track to be one of the most exciting teams both to watch and to play for. With Clark's visionary playmaking, Boston's commanding presence in the paint, Mitchell's scoring prowess, Cunningham's grit, and Howard's versatility, the pieces are finally coming together in a way few teams can match. And now, the WNBA is watching closely. Teams that once dismissed Indiana are now rethinking their stance, while players who previously overlooked the Fever are beginning to reconsider. If Indiana makes a deep playoff run this year, and they just might, those who passed on them are going to regret missing out. What's most striking about the Fever's roster is how seamlessly everything fits together. It's not just about possessing talent, it's about having the right kind of talent. Caitlin Clark is not a ball-dominant guard who forces poor shots. She's a cerebral playmaker who involves her teammates, ensuring that scorers like Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham get the looks they deserve. Aaliyah Boston isn't just a reliable post presence. She's an elite two-way big who can anchor the defense and dominate on the boards, freeing up her teammates to focus on their roles. Natasha Howard brings veteran savvy and impact on both ends, offering Indiana the switchability and offensive depth they need. When you combine all these elements, you get a team built to win. As the Fever gear up for their inaugural season with Clark at the helm, one question looms large in the WNBA. How soon before other teams try to replicate Indiana's blueprint? Because there's no denying it, the envy is palpable. Players and executives who once wrote off Indiana are now witnessing a transformation in real time. This isn't just about one superstar. It's about a front office that has meticulously constructed a balanced, synergistic roster, forcing everyone to take notice. For years, Indiana was a team you'd barely give a second glance. Today, however, the Fever have redefined themselves through shrewd roster moves, strategic chemistry, and a visionary approach. Some critics in the media clung to outdated perceptions, failing to grasp that players want to win and thrive in systems tailored to their strengths. And with Caitlin Clark steering the ship, Indiana's fast-paced, unselfish style isn't just refreshing, it's revolutionary. The signing of players like Natasha Howard, along with the buzz surrounding Bonner and Cunningham, signals a new era for the Fever. In a few short months, the Indiana Fever have transformed from an afterthought into one of the league's most coveted destinations. The pieces are finally in place, the chemistry is undeniable, and the envy from across the WNBA is unmistakable. It all comes down to one thing. Caitlin Clark has changed everything. Her arrival has not only elevated the talent on Indiana's roster, but has also created an environment where players genuinely want to be. And as the league watches this transformation unfold, it's becoming increasingly clear that Indiana isn't just back in the game, they're here to change it. Caitlin Clark is changing the game, literally. Her ability to drain deep three-pointers, the kind you usually associate with Steph Curry, has redefined the expectations for women's basketball. It's not just about the range, it's her confidence, flair, and ability to consistently perform at a level we've rarely, if ever, seen before. NBA legends and basketball greats are taking notice, and their reactions are a testament to her talent and impact. Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, didn't hold back in his praise. He highlighted how much Caitlin has done for the WNBA and called for better officiating to protect her from unnecessary fouls and hostility. MJ's message was clear: Caitlin is invaluable to the game, and it's time the league treated her accordingly. Steph Curry, often seen as her male counterpart, has been equally impressed. He's pointed out the similarities in their games, not just the lightning-fast release and jaw-dropping range, but also their ability to elevate teammates and put on a show for fans. As Steph said, she's the total package. But Caitlin's rise hasn't come without challenges. From the start, she's faced criticism and even hostility from some WNBA players. NBA legends like Rick Barry and George Gervin have defended her, calling out the jealousy and disrespect. Barry was blunt, saying the hate comes from fear of her undeniable talent. Gervin added that Caitlyn's impact goes beyond the court. She's brought private charters, bigger sponsorships, and unprecedented attention to the WNBA. As Barkley put it, you should be thanking that girl. Yet, not everyone is on board. Reggie Miller sees the adversity as part of Caitlyn's journey, arguing that every rookie must prove themselves. Kevin Garnett echoed that sentiment, framing the extra defensive attention and hard fouls as a sign of respect. They both believe these challenges will only make her stronger. The controversy around Caitlyn reached a new level when she was left off the U.S. Olympic roster. Critics like Paul Pierce argued it was a missed opportunity for the sport, while others, like Dwight Howard, saw it differently. Howard suggested the break might have been a blessing in disguise, giving Caitlyn time to recharge and dominate in the second half of the season. Through it all, Caitlyn has stayed focused. Her game has grown faster, sharper, and even more electrifying. Legends like Shaquille O'Neal have praised her ability to silence critics with her play. Shaq, in his signature style, summed it up perfectly. If I say you're not gonna hit that shot and you hit it anyway, you're the truth. What's remarkable is how much Caitlyn has already done for women's basketball. Magic Johnson, who has an ownership stake in the WNBA, compared her to young stars like Angel Reese, saying players like Caitlyn are shaping the league's future. Magic also pointed out that it's not just about Caitlyn being the most popular player, it's about her potential to reach the very top, just like he and Larry Bird once did. Even with all the challenges and noise, Caitlyn's journey has been nothing short of transformative. She's bringing in fans, raising the league's profile, and proving that women's basketball is a force to be reckoned with. As Charles Barkley said, the WNBA owes her a lot for what she's done for the game. Caitlyn Clark is not just a rising star, she's a trailblazer. Her ability to thrive under pressure, elevate the sport, and handle adversity with grace is why basketball legends, fans, and critics alike are rooting for her. Whether it's breaking records or changing perceptions, Caitlyn is building a legacy that will be talked about for years to come.
You know, I love talking about Caitlyn Clark on this show, and she participated in some kind of LPGA Pro-Am, drew monster crowds. There's pictures of just like everybody trying to get an autograph with Caitlyn Clark.
Outrageous criticism, media frenzy, and a string of headlines. It's safe to say that Caitlyn Clark has been at the center of controversy over the past few months. In a move that caught everyone off guard, Clark struck a headline-making deal with the LPGA, calling her WNBA legacy into question and sparking debates about loyalty, fame, and ambition.
One more key photo.
Caitlyn, DeWanna. Great to meet you. Looking forward to the afternoon together. Okay, go. Come on.
Hug it out. Squeeze in close together. We'll get one right here, please.
Speaking of which, the Caitlyn Clark effect is starting to take shape. After delivering what could be the best rookie season in NBA history, she made the unexpected move to female golf, where she's now being heralded as the next big thing. But how did Clark manage to conquer 2 worlds in just 8 months? And why are critics calling her success a betrayal of women's basketball? In this video, we'll break down everything from Caitlyn Clark's new deal to the backlash and everything surrounding her controversial journey. But before we dive in, let's take a trip down memory lane. At the start of the year, the Caitlyn Clark effect was undeniable. Even before she set foot on a WNBA court, ticket sales for every platform skyrocketed by over 90% once she declared for the draft. Her performance in the league has been nothing short of outstanding. In her rookie season with the Indiana Fever, she averaged 19 points per game, scoring at least 13 points in 29 of her 36 games this year. What's even more surprising are her record-breaking feats, becoming the first player in WNBA history to hit over 100 three-point shots and rack up 300 assists in a single season. At this point, NBA analysts were already calling her a generational talent, but Clark's influence wasn't just reflected in the numbers, it was in the stands as well. Every week, Fever games turned into must-watch events, with fans traveling from across the country to see her play. She brought an entirely new audience to the WNBA. Meanwhile, Reese wasn't just riding the wave of hype, she was making her own history, becoming the first rookie to record an all-star game, double-double, the first WNBA player to achieve back-to-back 20-rebound games, and pulling off an impressive 24 double-doubles in her rookie season. While others are still trying to catch up, Reese is reshaping the game, and Clark has done more than just elevate the league's profile. However, while Clark was drawing record crowds, boosting TV ratings, and breathing new life into women's basketball, the WNBA failed to make her the face of the league. As a result, Caitlin Clark is now taking her talents and fan base elsewhere. Enter her debut at an LPGA Pro-Am, which drew bigger crowds than some of the tour's main events. At this point, she's not just rewriting the narrative in basketball, she's also making waves in women's golf. Playing alongside world #1 Nelly Korda at the Pelican Golf Club's Annika Pro-Am, Clark showed that her influence extends far beyond the basketball court. If anyone thought her dominance was limited to the hardwood, her impressive performance on the greens has now silenced many doubters. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the Pelican Golf Club course, it was clear this wasn't just another golfer taking their turn. The LPGA capitalized on the moment by pairing Clark with Nelly Korda, a marketing move that spotlighted both players as generational talents. The anticipation was electric, and even the Golf Channel rearranged its programming to cover her live, something unheard of for a Pro-Am event. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark took the spotlight in Florida, drawing massive crowds, and once again, proving that her star power extends well beyond the basketball court. Alongside Korda, Clark played with tournament host Annika Sorenstam, teeing off at the crack of dawn and launching an early shot into the gallery. Fans were glued to her every move at Pelican Golf Club. The WNBA Rookie of the Year's presence drove ticket sales and boosted media attention for the event. After the round, she was swarmed for autographs, and with an endorsement deal from Gainbridge, the LPGA tournament's sponsor, and a role in a women's leadership summit, it was clear her presence was far from casual. While Clark insists that golf is her escape, her single long-range putt left fans wondering, is she just playing for fun, or is she quietly taking over yet another sport? One thing is clear, the LPGA is thriving on Caitlin Clark's star power in a way the WNBA could only dream of. The media and golf elite couldn't stop singing her praises. 8-time LPGA champion Nelly Korda, who played alongside Clark, had nothing but admiration for her after the game, praising her skills and presence on the course.
It was so amazing. She's so sweet, so nice. It was nice to kind of get to spend some time with her. We've messaged a little on Instagram beforehand, but to get to spend some time with her and to see the influence that she has on people, bringing people out here, and to see how amazing of an influence she is.
The praise didn't stop with Nelly Korda. LPGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan was equally blown away, calling Caitlin Clark's performance incredible and applauding her passion for the game. Overall, Clark's presence on the course didn't just spark excitement, it stirred up drama. Her growing star power now threatens to overshadow seasoned pros in yet another sport. Is Caitlin Clark the crossover phenom golf never knew it needed? Or is this a sign that women's sports are evolving faster than their leagues can keep up? At this point, it's clear Clark isn't slowing down anytime soon. However, not everyone is cheering for Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise. While Korda and Monahan praised her for uniting fans across sports, insiders in the WNBA are reportedly seething over her crossover success. The LPGA's full-court press to spotlight Clark has left some in the WNBA feeling left behind. Insiders claim league officials are frustrated, not only by the LPGA's success, but also because the WNBA has failed to fully capitalize on Clark's star power. Social media lit up with clips of her swings, and national basketball and golf media flocked to the event. Tournament host and golf legend Annika Sorenstam captured the moment perfectly, highlighting Clark's undeniable impact on the sport. For better or worse, Caitlin Clark is rewriting the playbook for crossover stardom and shaking up women's sports in the process. Despite questions about her commitment to golf, it was revealed she's been swinging clubs since childhood. After making her 2023 debut at the John Deere Classic alongside major champion Zach Johnson, Clark's appearance at the Pelican Golf Club proved one thing: her crossover appeal is no fluke. Meanwhile, WNBA enthusiasts are rumored to feel overshadowed by Clark's dominance on the golf course, despite her record-breaking rookie season on the basketball court. While golf fans flock to see her tee off and whispers of a potential LPGA contract swirl, WNBA fans are left asking why their league hasn't given Clark the same level of attention. Take her Rookie of the Year award, for example. Rather than a grand celebration for her groundbreaking achievements, it was handed out in a nearly empty arena with little fanfare, a baffling move for someone who has done more to elevate the league in one season than most players do in a career. As the buzz around Clark's golf ventures intensifies, the WNBA's failure to capitalize on her star power becomes increasingly obvious. The LPGA has done what the WNBA couldn't. They turned Caitlin Clark's star power into a game changer. But here's the irony. Caitlin's rise should be a win for everyone. She has brought unprecedented attention to women's sports. Yet, while the LPGA embraced the moment and ran with it, the WNBA stayed stuck in its old ways, hesitant, overly cautious, and failing to seize the bold opportunity. When a male NBA or NFL star steps into another sport, social media explodes with hype. This was the WNBA's chance to do the same, celebrate Clark, ride the wave of excitement, and prove they can champion their biggest stars. Instead, they fumbled. Now, the league finds itself at a crossroads, grappling with a familiar issue: how to balance promoting standout players like Clark while still pushing the league forward as a whole. The LPGA made its move and won. Meanwhile, the WNBA risks being left in the dust, overshadowed by a star they didn't know how to celebrate. As Clark juggles her intense off-season training while fielding interest from the rapidly growing 3-on-3 women's basketball league, her crossover into golf raises an even bigger question. Is Caitlin Clark reshaping women's sports? Or is she quietly stepping away from basketball altogether?
Or as alive, but there has been a confirmation. There has been, well, as good as a confirmation from the draft. And it's unfortunate they leaked the expansion draft, or at least leaked part of the expansion draft.
As the new franchise made its much-anticipated entrance, speculation soared about how the Valkyries would build their inaugural roster. Naturally, Caitlin Clark became a focal point in these discussions, celebrated for her exceptional scoring prowess, long-range three-point shooting, and strong leadership on the court. Caitlin has emerged as one of the brightest stars in women's basketball today. The potential addition of her talents to the Valkyries has generated tremendous buzz and anticipation among enthusiasts and analysts alike.
Right, there we go. We have our first 4 names of the reveal, and there they are. And just in case you didn't pick up on it, these names are being announced in alphabetical order from the teams of the W. So there's no ranking here in terms of who's most important. Your first thought?
In case you missed it, these selections are being announced in alphabetical order based on the teams, so there's no ranking in terms of importance. At first glance, you might assume Caitlin Clark would be among them, but when the draft results were revealed, an unexpected twist occurred. The Valkyries chose not to draft Caitlin Clark. This surprising decision left both fans and analysts stunned, igniting debates across social media platforms and sports broadcasts. The Golden State Valkyries' participation in the expansion draft marked a pivotal moment for the WNBA. It's a rare opportunity for a new team to build its roster from the ground up, and anticipation was high as fans watched to see their selections. While many anticipated bold moves, the decision to bypass Caitlin Clark, widely regarded as one of the league's brightest stars, created a wave of controversy and confusion within the basketball community.
As for the names on the back of the jerseys, we do have 4 more names that are about to be revealed in just a moment, but we do want to do a little table set of the Valkyries' notable games during what will be their inaugural season. They'll open the season in the Chase Center against the Sparks in a battle for Cali, some other marquee matchups as well. Defending champ Liberty May 27th, and they've got the Aces and Fever.
Her standout performance at Iowa made her a household name, and her seamless transition to the WNBA only heightened her impact. As a high-volume scorer and talented playmaker, she possesses the unique ability to draw crowds and secure victories. So, why did the Valkyries pass on drafting her when they had the opportunity? The reason stems from a combination of strategic planning, roster-building priorities, and the complexities of managing star talent within a newly established team. She is more than just a prolific scorer. She is a transformative player. Her knack for sinking 3-pointers from seemingly unreachable distances and her exceptional court vision make her an invaluable asset. Additionally, she exemplifies leadership both on and off the court, frequently taking control during pivotal moments of the game. Any team would be fortunate to acquire her talents, or so it appears. However, constructing a new franchise goes beyond assembling star players. It involves ensuring the right fit, fostering chemistry, and implementing long-term strategies. This vision necessitated selecting players who could offer versatility and balance to their roster. Opting to draft a superstar like Caitlin Clark might have seemed like a straightforward way to make headlines, but it could have interfered with the delicate task of forming a unified and cohesive team structure. A prime example of the Valkyries' strategic selection is Temi Fagbenle. As an experienced center, Fagbenle brings defensive strength and leadership qualities that are crucial for any team seeking to establish its identity. However, her selection sparked surprise because it meant that Caitlin Clark remained with the Indiana Fever. Speculation among fans suggested that Fagbenle's departure from the Fever was closely linked to Clark's increasing influence within the team. Her on-court presence attracts media coverage, drives merchandise sales, and energizes fan communities. For the Indiana Fever, she serves as a cornerstone in their rebuilding efforts. Conversely, for the Valkyries, acquiring a player of her caliber might have introduced significant challenges. Effectively managing a star athlete requires substantial resources, both financially and in terms of team dynamics. Clark's playing style necessitates that the team's offense is centered around her. She thrives as a high-usage player who relies on having the ball in her hands. While this strategy can be effective for established teams with well-defined systems, it poses risks for a new franchise striving to find its balance. The Valkyries likely aimed to prevent their entire identity from hinging on a single player, regardless of her talent. Instead, their focus was probably on assembling a more balanced roster, capable of evolving into a cohesive unit that can compete comprehensively without depending excessively on any one individual.
From the Atlanta Dream, the Golden State Valkyries select center Ileana Rupert.
Another layer to this decision is the Valkyries' emphasis on defense and versatility. Players like Fag Benley, Alana R., and Monique Billings offer flexibility across multiple positions, enabling the team to adjust to various matchups. While drafting Clark might have been tempting, it could have constrained their ability to build a well-rounded roster. Under the expansion draft rules, teams had the option to protect certain players. Unsurprisingly, the Fever chose to safeguard Caitlin Clark, effectively removing her from the Valkyries' selection pool. This move came at a price, leaving players like Fag Benley unprotected. For the Fever, this was a strategic gamble. They prioritized securing their star player, understanding that losing other valuable role players might be an unavoidable consequence. Protecting Clark underscores her significance to the Fever's future. She's not merely a player, but the cornerstone of their franchise. Losing her would have severely hampered their rebuilding efforts. Nevertheless, some fans believe that leaving Fag Benley unprotected was a misstep, as she is a dependable contributor who brings both experience and grit to the team. By passing on high-profile players like Caitlin Clark, they signaled their commitment to constructing a team based on depth, teamwork, and strategic foresight. This method may not create immediate headlines, but it lays the groundwork for long-term success. Naturally, not everyone concurs with this strategy. Critics argue that the Valkyries forfeited an opportunity to secure a generational talent. Caitlin Clark's ability to attract fans and elevate her teammates makes her a rare asset in the WNBA. Opting out of drafting her could be viewed as a risky move, especially for a new team aiming to establish itself in a competitive environment. However, there's a valid argument supporting the Valkyries' choice. Building a successful franchise requires time and meticulous planning. While star players like Caitlin Clark can transform a team, they also introduce complexities both on and off the court. For the Valkyries, the expansion draft was about more than just acquiring talent. It was about establishing a foundation for a team capable of competing at the highest levels. As the Valkyries gear up for their inaugural season, all eyes will be on their roster decisions. Will their strategic approach yield positive results, or will they rue the decision to pass on players like Caitlin Clark? The outcome may not be immediate, but one thing is clear: this decision will be closely examined. Understanding the Valkyries' choice to forgo Caitlin Clark requires looking at the broader context. How will this impact the future of the Valkyries and Caitlin Clark's role with the Indiana Fever? Launching a new franchise carries the inherent pressure to make a significant impact quickly. Acquiring a player like Caitlin Clark would undoubtedly generate headlines and draw fans to the arena. However, a franchise's success isn't solely determined by hype. It's about winning games and cultivating a sustainable culture. The Valkyries appear to have prioritized balance over star power. A key aspect of this decision revolves around Caitlin Clark's compatibility with a new system. Clark is renowned for her dynamic, high-energy playing style. She's a high-usage player who excels in systems designed to highlight her individual talents. However, for a nascent team like the Valkyries, selecting a player of Clark's magnitude could result in a lopsided roster. The team might feel compelled to build entirely around her, potentially compromising depth and versatility. Historically, teams that secure elite talent early on often set themselves up for sustained success. Clark's ability to draw double teams, stretch defenses, and control the game's tempo makes her a generational talent. By passing on her, the Valkyries are essentially betting on their ability to discover comparable talent in the future, a gamble that may or may not pay off.
Unearned fame and fortune are far more destructive than they might appear. And right now, There's no organization on the planet that proves this point more than the WNBA. The league just posted its highest average game viewership in 24 years. They're bringing in massive new sponsorships, at least by the league standard. They're selling out arenas, which used to be unheard of for the WNBA.
Have you ever wondered why a star like Caitlin Clark is encountering criticism in the WNBA? It's not what you might expect. The league's audience numbers soared, player benefits got better, and women's basketball gained significant attention. However, suddenly, unexpected allegations began to emerge from seasoned WNBA players.
From the executives to the players to the reporters who, for their sins in a past life, have been cursed with the job of covering a women's basketball league, everyone should be overjoyed. But there's a big problem. All of this success, every bit of it, is due to the presence of one player in the league, and that is a generational talent named Caitlin Clark, who of course you've heard of. And still probably the only WNBA player whose name you know.
Matt Walsh isn't buying it. He's calling out the double standards, and trust me, he has the proof. He's armed with the data, the statistics, and he's not afraid to name names. Stay tuned as we uncover the explosive truth behind the WNBA's biggest controversy to date. You won't believe what some players are revealing behind the scenes. Ready? Let's dive in. Imagine this. Caitlin Clark steps onto the court, and the WNBA undergoes a complete transformation overnight. She's not just making an impact, she's changing the game.
She's the reason the WNBA just won the lottery. Without Caitlin Clark, nobody cares about any of these players or the league. With her, most people still don't care, but a lot more people care than did before. And everybody knows that, right? Therefore, everyone in the league other than Caitlin Clark is doing exactly what so many lottery winners do. They're allowing all of their worst personality traits to surface because they just can't help themselves.
The WNBA is undergoing an unprecedented boom. Viewership has soared to record-breaking heights, leaving executives in awe. Stadiums are packed to capacity, generating an electric energy that was once unimaginable in the WNBA. It's as if someone hit a power switch, and suddenly women's basketball has become the hottest ticket in town.
You know, there are a lot of stories out there about lottery winners who go on to destroy their lives. Something like 70% of them supposedly go bankrupt within a few years. It's not hard to see how that would happen. When you give a lot of money and attention to a person who didn't earn any of it, that person doesn't suddenly change overnight. Instead, more often than not, all of their worst character traits are amplified 10 times over, and in many cases, that leads to a very public and humiliating collapse. This is a principle that doesn't just apply to individuals, it turns out. It applies to organizations too.
This surge in popularity is bringing in significant investments. Sponsorships and major deals are flooding in like never before. It's as though the floodgates have opened, and everyone wants a slice of the WNBA action. Players are enjoying enhanced benefits, and the league is attracting attention from unexpected sources with a surge of new fans. But here's the kicker. Not everyone is celebrating. Some players are voicing their frustrations. Can you believe it? Amidst all this success, underlying discontent is starting to surface.
There's been a lot of resentment in this league lately, in particular since the season began. And the thing about resentment, as we all know, is that it tends to fester over time. It gets worse and worse. That's exactly what we're seeing now.
It's truly perplexing. On one side, the league is finally gaining the recognition it has been yearning for. On the other, some players seem discontent with the very achievements they've been striving toward. Why? That's the million-dollar question. Are they envious of Clark's sudden rise to stardom? Concerned about what this means for their own careers? Or is there something more beneath the surface?
Race hysteria in the WNBA has somehow reached yet another inflection point. The league is currently in the midst of what really might be the single most contrived racism scandal, certainly in any professional sport, at least since the fake noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. Specifically, a bunch of WNBA players have come out claiming that they've been victimized by racial slurs and other forms of racist attacks. Like, a lot of players are claiming this.
Imagine this. The WNBA is soaring on an unprecedented wave of popularity. and then a bombshell hits that shakes the league to its very foundation. We're discussing explosive accusations of racism that threaten to dismantle women's basketball. It's like striking a match in a room filled with gasoline.
How do you feel about what has happened over the past year with the W since you first came in to where it is now? And obviously the game has grown and there's new fans, but do you appreciate the new fans without all the noise that's coming with them?
I don't appreciate the new fans that sit there and yell racial slurs at myself, my teammates, and the people that I play against, because those might be opponents, but those are friends too. They don't deserve that. So I don't appreciate the new fans. I think it's okay to do that.
Brittany Griner, one of the league's biggest stars, steps forward with a startling allegation. She claims that new fans are hurling slurs during games. Can you believe it?
The question that Brittany Griner was asked was about the massive growth of this league, which was dead in the water just a year ago and had been dead for its entire existence. And the reporter asked, what do you think of all the new fans? And in any other context, when someone says, what do you think of all the new fans that are coming in? Usually it's great. We love how everybody is supporting the league and we're so grateful. None of that. Instead of some gratitude, some appreciation for the people who have saved the WNBA, who pay to come out to see bad players like Brittany Griner, instead of that, we get resentment.
Now for the details. None of these racial slurs have been confirmed, even though some are alleged to have happened during games. As far as I know, none of them have been captured on camera. Interesting. There's no visual or audio proof to back any of these claims. Not a single trustworthy report either. That's highly unusual, especially considering there are cameras and smartphones at every WNBA game. Walsh isn't holding back. He's stating it exactly as he sees it, asserting that these accusations are completely fabricated. It's a daring claim, but it's making people take notice. But let's slow down for a moment. Why would players fabricate something so serious? That's the million-dollar question sparking intense debates among fans and critics alike. Are they trying to create drama? Is there something else happening behind the scenes? If there were, the videos would be all over the internet, but they're nowhere to be found. They don't exist online. So instead, we're left having to rely on the players' statements. The entire situation is causing turmoil within the league. On one side, you have players feeling wronged and calling for action. On the other, there are skeptics like Walsh demanding solid evidence before making any judgments. And in the middle of it all, the fans, the sponsors, and the future of the WNBA itself.